Mike is mute.
Mike, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mike? Alrighty, guys, we're just gonna just kind of chat as we give everyone a few minutes to log in to our baseball month of April review show here. We got a couple special guests here, and hopefully we'll get everything worked out in a couple minutes. So in the meantime, we're just going to chat and let everyone join up with us. So we're waiting on a couple of our special guests. Mike, can you hear us okay?
Yep, I'm back, kind of. I'm still trying to messing with this, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's all right. We're just we're gonna give everyone about 5 minutes to join up before we get started, anyway. So that way we can get everybody on board before we get started. Tribe fan there, how you doing, Tribe? Good to see you.
Sad to see the Matt Kemp experiment in Cincinnati's over.
Ooh, what happened there?
Right release.
Really?
Today, yeah.
Well, that's too bad. That is definitely too bad.
And I'm sure, will be signed by the Dodgers for a song and a half, and
you think the Dodgers will pick him back up?
Because he doesn't really cost anything. He costs the minimum. All provided that there's an injury at some point.
Tribe fan is doing well. Thanks for coming on by, Tribe fan. We're going to get started here after a few minutes. We're giving everybody a few minutes to join up. So, and we'll talk some April baseball. All right. So, Ron, you were playing with the roster sheet. What do you think of that?
So far, I like it. I'm a big fan of that company, of his games anyway. And so it wasn't that difficult to figure out. And it was nice to actually play something that actually printed out sheets for, and the footprint isn't all that big. And with the dice roller, I was up and running within 5 minutes. It'll take a while to get the rules right. I will say this. I saw that Sebastian Stratt said in the earlier stream when you were doing it, the offense does seem to run hot. But I did have a shutout today.
Did you? Okay.
Yes. So it is possible.
I'm trying to remember the couple games that I ran. The Boston game was, let's see, what was the final score on that? Nope, that's the wrong sheet. Where's my? Let me look at my sheets here.
I will say that generally his games are fairly accurate, but I can also see where they would not be for everyone.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, depending on how in depth and you want to get.
I mean, yes, I haven't played ball. I played the predecessor Ball Holla, which is still available for free, and that can get quite complicated. But again, if you understand how the rating systems work, once you figure it out, especially with the Excel helper, and I can play those games in 15, 20 minutes if it's relatively low scoring. Not 1-0, but so yeah, I figured that's the same with the roster card.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can get them done pretty quick. I think, it seems like those games, all three of them are designed kind of similar, where they're fast flowing and nice and easy, but then there's certain things in each game that makes it a little more complex.
Really,
and unless you've done it a couple times, it's hard to, you got to look and, check everything, and then, oh yeah, that's how you do this play.
But I'm real happy with the out distribution of what I've seen, which is a big one for me. If you're going to sit down and play a game, you don't want 8,000 ground balls and no flyouts and vice versa. So that part he's got down pretty well. We'll see, but we'll see about, like I said, the offenses. But I think it also depends on, I think that would be a real ideal game for a dice tower, because even if you do, I use the ball roller, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just get the same rolls twice in a row, and so it's kind of hard to get, you know, truly random rolls. Poor Mike's
All right.
just having so much trouble.
All right. Looks like David needs the link. Yes, I will resend.
So
So
I'm
he's
here, I think, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, we're waiting on Dave. He's I'm gonna email him the link again. So give me just a second here.
But for the price that you paid for roster card baseball, you
Am
can't
I
beat
coming
it.
up? I'm seeing my picture twice on there. Or is that a
Yeah, you're logged in twice, but don't log
okay?
out. The other one will sign itself out, Mike. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be okay. All right,
I
I'm
hear a
sending.
car alarm. Is that on my end?
Not over here. I don't hear one. He found the issue. He'll be signing in shortly. He says.
Okay. So yeah, for the price of it, and the footprint's very small. 26 sheets is a lot better than 900 or 900 cards to punch out.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see, like I said, payoff pitch in an Excel format or something that was a helper. But this, I got 15 seasons for $40.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean, that's when you compare that to some of the regular companies you're going to be paying. That's a
Yeah.
one season.
And he's always had an interesting way to have pitcher interaction. It's not as basic as APA, and of course not the individual card of Stratomatic, but it's a good combination of pitchers are rated for A, B, and C, and they do make a difference.
Yeah, I think so. And I think each way the pitcher interacts is different with each game, which is kind of
Hmm.
interesting too. But they all interact one way or the other. All right, we're still waiting on the baseball demos. We'll give him a minute or two, see if he can show up here. So what's Mike been up to? What are you playing nowadays, Mike?
Oh, I'm so happy. Got so many things going on that I want to do right now. Since I've been configured my camera now, I can do cards and dice and play strat basketball, football, baseball, cards and dice a little more now. So I'm gonna be rolling some of that out a little more, little by little on stuff I have. So, and right now I'm doing my Utah 10 league on my Strat PC where I'm doing the actual rolling too. Again, I'm getting a little better at doing that, so that's really good. So, and also I'm very happy, and I tell Ron I got my old football game I'm rolling out right now, and I think I want to do a league with that once I get into the fall. So I'm kind of playing some practice games, seeing how teams play against one another, see what stats I have to edit. I'm a real stickler of guys, how they perform and should they have realistic ratings or not.
That XOR football looks to be
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
fun.
Well, I tell you, you have the system down pat because I watched one of your games where you input the roles and you kind of know what's going to happen just by looking at the roll before it actually happens. And I'm like, wow, how does he know that was going to be an error? How did he know that was going to be a double?
Hey, the punnery has arrived.
Let the shenanigans begin. Hey, David.
Hey,
Can you hear us okay?
had a Wi-Fi issue. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. You can hear us okay?
I can hear you. I don't know if you hear me, but I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you, Dave.
So, Dave, who ended up winning the Forge game?
I actually didn't go back to it. At 61 minutes, I was tired. It was late at night, and I was like, I'm going to bed.
That makes sense.
The fortunes were gone, so I figured the mystique of that whole thing was already over anyway.
I gotta say, that's the first time I've ever seen replay done cards and dice, and it looked nowhere near as bad as I imagined it would. I'm not saying that in a bad way because I like the game engine, but you've got that down so cold.
Like I said, it's sort of like APA where you see certain results. You don't have to look at the book. You just know that. Like I know on a column 1, a 45 is a strikeout if you're not playing for double play, it's automatic strikeout. I know 36s in column 6 are automatic strikeout.
Yep, absolutely. All righty. We'll
the
give
overhead light
everyone
off
like 2 more minutes
on.
to join up. We'll just giving everyone a couple minutes to join up. We have a couple of special guests in the chat. Bobby Catalano's here, Tribe Fan 879. So I want to give them a big shout out and thanks for having them come on by.
Bobby!
Bobby!
Am I too dark? Do I need to turn overhead light on?
Yeah, you're way too dark. Yeah.
Okay, let me do that. I had a lamp on instead of the overhead light. Let me put the overhead light on.
The lamp looks great. We can't see you at all.
Okay.
David is joining the witness protection program of Strat players.
Well, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad thing to not be able to see me, but that's all right. Turn this off. Okay. How's that? Is that better?
That's better. Lower your
Look
phone
good.
a little bit. Or back it off just a there you go. Let's see all your face, not just your eyebrows.
Well. As long as you can hear me, I guess that's the main.
We can hear you I can hear you just fine.
All
But
right,
that commercial
Larry Harris has joined us. Thank you, Mr. Larry Harris. How you doing tonight? Hope all is well. We're going to give everyone 2 more minutes to join up, and then we're going to get started here. We're going to talk some 2019 April baseball, give our thoughts and opinions about some stuff, and just kind of go over, all the good, fun things that happened in April.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thanks.
It's much better than the one you had.
You missed it. You missed it.
Better than the Ohio State shirt.
I was doing something when you weren't here. I was cutting out my 2011 Strat cards.
There you go.
That was a great World Series.
Yes, it was.
You couldn't get much better than that.
David Freese claim to fame.
That's it. And then he went to Pittsburgh after a few, I think like 2 or 3 seasons after, like maybe 2015, 2000.
Went to the Angels first though, and then I went to Pittsburgh. I'm not
yeah. But I saw him in spring training a couple years down here.
Yep.
So
he's still kind of scary in the clutch too.
And now he's out with Los Angeles. If he's still on the team, last I saw he was on the team, but he's kind of went downhill the last couple of seasons. But
can Joe Buck be more of a Can Joe Buck be more of a homer in that series?
No, he can't.
If I remember correctly, he kind of repeated his father's phrase of like, "We'll see you tomorrow" after Freese hit the home run in Game 6.
We will see you tomorrow.
He's stealing that from his father in the Minnesota Atlanta World Series
in '91. Yeah,
when Bobby Cox inexplicably brought in a left-hander to face Kirby Puckett, Charlie Leibrandt.
Sure. Yes.
Puckett only hit .406 against lefties that year. Just saying.
Not that you're still bitter about that.
Not at all.
I just don't think Bobby Cox is a Hall of Fame manager. I'm sorry. He had 3 of the best pitchers of all time. He should have won more than 1 World Series.
Absolutely.
I mean, he may be a great administrator and good in the clubhouse, but his X's and O's, no way.
Not as good as me, that's for sure.
The only one he could outmanage is Dave Martinez.
My cat could outmanage Dave Martinez.
Any of us could outmanage. I think Tabby, my cat, could outmanage Dave Martinez. But they stick it on the pitching coach as the fall guy.
He wasn't very good. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
The Cubs, the Bears says best World Series ever 2016. Someone ban him immediately, please.
I'm kind of partial to 2000.
Bobby, it's time to use a wrench. Ban.
Yeah.
Permanent ban.
I'm kind of partial to 2004 myself, but
you're killing me. Killing me.
Or 13.
2004 was worse because the curse was over and it ruined baseball.
Thank you.
2013 was sweet because it was home.
Yeah.
I've told you, ID. My one of my uncles was a huge Cardinal fan. I have nothing but respect for St. Louis. So
Uh, it's not that Boston won. The fact that the curse was over, and you get all that history that gets washed down the tube,
Just like in
and
16
all of a
with the
sudden,
Cubs.
the kids nowadays, they don't talk about it. If Boston would have never won a World Series, they would still be talking about that to this day. Everyone out there in America would know about it. But since they won the World Series, nobody cares anymore.
yeah, I cry
Just like
myself
in
to sleep
16
in the four I've seen them win now in the last 15 years. Okay.
just like in the 16 World Series with the Cubs, had they not won, people still talking about the 69
That's it.
the Cubs and the Black Cat.
Yep, that's right. And when Boston broke through, then of course you knew the Cubs were going to come by sooner or
Only a
later.
matter of time.
It was just a matter of time.
Well, we
All
did
that
share a general
history,
manager.
all that history thrown down the toilet for nothing.
And
Nothing.
what was unfortunate is the Cardinals didn't put up any effort at all in either two series. Didn't they win one game in those two World Series?
No, they
Well,
took it was 2 and 13.
in the 4 series, they had to play the Astros, and that was a brutal 7-game series. And I think they just got wore out. Now, of course, Boston had to play 7 games too, but
Yeah, that was a 3-0 comeback, right?
Yeah.
Shut up, David.
oh my God, you're gonna kill me. I just jab me in the neck now.
That was the Dave Roberts stolen base, if I remember correctly. A big part of that.
Yes. You can go
And
watch.
Willie Stargell will hit that nice home run in the '79 World Series too.
Hey, Ron, who was the manager in 04? I forget.
Terry Francona.
Francona was, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Farrell for 13. Right?
We don't
Yep.
talk about John Farrell in front of mixed company.
All right, let's get started because we're talking baseball. We might as well talk baseball, but this episode, we're going to be talking specifically about April baseball 2019, our winners, our losers, our thoughts about the season, how things are going, how certain teams are acting. Of course, we have our bias because we already did a preview show talking about our picks for the 2019 season. So first, let's have everyone just kind of quickly introduce yourselves and let us know what you got going on your channel. David, start us off.
Well, I've got the 77 White Sox replay. The ads played super advanced. I'm playing a mostly offline, the 10-team 54 with 2018 strat set, picking 10 random teams. And then eventually I will get the Ticonderoga Stooges going for History Maker Baseball in the fictional set. And I'll be playing some one-offs like I did today with the Force Be With You.
Yeah. Hey, Sports Time Machine, what's going on over there? A lot of good stuff I see.
Yeah, my name is Utah Mike, in case anybody knows me by other names. Right now, I'm doing my Utah 10 League with the top 5 teams from 1987, American and National. So I'm doing a cards and dice, some of them offline, picking like 1 or 2 games to play per week. I'm also running my NFL Challenge, which is a football simulation I played back in college. I'm trying to get that revved up to probably get a solo league going in the fall, but I'm trying to get roster set there. So I'm kind of playing one-off games from the 2019 schedule. So I'm trying to see how I can do there. Games have been really good, and some of them have not been good. So I like that game a lot so far. So it's been popular, and also I know I'm going to be hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be debuting a wrestling show, like a talk show, within the next couple of weeks. So look for that. That'll be soon coming up also.
Oh, beautiful! A lot of good stuff. I've been watching a lot of your stuff. I'm so glad you're getting back on with the camera and getting everything set up, bringing in some things I've never seen. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. So appreciate that. And last but not least, Retro Sports Network. Thanks for having us on the other night. Had a great discussion. But what else you got going on your channel there, bud?
Let's see. I think the primary project right now is the 1982 season replay, Major League Baseball season replay on Action PC, and we are almost in August, so we've hit the crunch time with that. We do games every lunch, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at lunch, and we do some oddball football, boxing, and other things too. But baseball right now is the primary focus, and when we get into football season, we'll be doing the 1986 NFL season.
Excellent. Excellent. Yep. Lunchtime with Ronnie's becoming just, get lunch at work and sit down and put on Ron and get to watch a game every day. So just about every day, which is awesome. So thanks for that. All right, so if you're just joining us, let's give a big shout out to all our people in the chat. Larry Harris, Bobby Catalano, I am Sporticus, Tribe Fan 879. Let's see, did I miss anybody or not? How we doing? We missed anybody? Tribe Fan, the Cubs, the Bears, of course. Larry Harris, and I'm not sure if anybody else popped in, but if you guys remember anybody, let us know. So we're going to be talking April baseball, specifically when we talk about everything. So let's start off with just a regular, simple question because we're going to get down to the nitty gritty later. So you don't have to go into details here. Trust me, I've got some good ones coming. All right. So, Ron, just grade your enjoyment of the April baseball so far. A, B, C, D, or F?
Well, since both of my teams aren't playing all that well, I would say about a D.
A D. What about you, Mike?
I would say if I was a teacher right now, I put a big I on my paper for incomplete because I'm watching my team looking like the mobile Yankee surgical hospital with Alan Alda saying, "Colonel Potter, I'm running out of beds," because every time I turn around, they're putting a new player on the injured reserve. And it's just getting like I'm watching the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Raider Yankees playing right now with a lot of their guys. So it's been horrifying watching this team. And now you got Andujar who comes back today, throws 2 balls in the left field. So it's like, oh, great, he's back to normal. He can hit, but obviously he can't throw it still. So it's just been this, well, good. We still have Judge. Oh, no, we don't. He'll be gone for a while now. It's like, it's so hard watching this team. They're so, I don't want to be the first person to do a Steinbrenner and say, hey, let's trade for whoever and get somebody here. But you know what? Let's trade for somebody and get somebody here. They have the resources in case they don't, why not? Let's get another bat up here. I'm tired of watching a 500 OPS guy in Tachman and stuff like that playing. I mean, they're over 500 to be honest, and they're 3 games out of first place. They're doing this with smoke and mirrors right now. So I guess if I had a grade, it'd be like a B for enjoyment, but it's like an incomplete because I want my team back. But it's just been one injury after another.
All right. How about you, Baseball Demos? What do you think? Can you hear me, Baseball? David?
Dave, we can't hear you, buddy.
You got your can't hear you.
He's speechless because Chris Davis got a hit this year.
I'm speaking. Can you not hear me?
All right, now I can hear you.
Start again.
No.
Am I gone again?
Now you're on. Now you're on.
Okay. Let me try for the third time. Third time's a charm, right?
Yes, sir.
This may surprise some people, but I would say a B. Reason being is
Okay.
a B. Mm-hmm. Reason being is, and Ron knows this a little bit, I'm kind of not really a masochist, but I do enjoy some self-pain sometimes following some of my teams. And so the fact that the Nationals are doing poorly is actually, to me, more fun because as Bonnie Raitt used to sing, let's give them something to talk about. If the Nationals were 10 games up and riding high, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. But the local media and everything is all into that. And plus, not only the Nationals, but my Twins and my Mariners that I thought were surprise teams are doing really, really well. And the Red Sox are not doing as well as I predicted earlier also. So some of those, panning out is also why I give it a B.
All right, excellent. For me, I'm giving it an A. I'm giving it a top-notch A because of several reasons. Some of the perennial powerhouse teams are not winning their divisions. Some of the lower-level teams are really doing well. And if you look at April 30th specifically, all divisions were within 2 games apiece. So there was no team that was dominating any one of their divisions. There was games that were 14-11, 12-10, comebacks, there was a lot of excitement going on, I thought, in April. And I thought it was a great time to watch. I watched a lot of different teams. There was a lot of great teams that jumped off to a great start. And some of them came back to the pack. There was teams that got off to a really terrible start, which we're going to talk about. And they came back to the pack and started winning. So I think, if you look at the American League East, it's a 2.5 games. Tampa Bay's winning. In the American League Central Division, it's 1.5 games. In the American League West, it's 1 game. So after a month of baseball, basically 1/5 of the season, everyone's still in it. There's hardly anybody out. There's only a couple teams that are pretty much out at this point. And a lot of teams that we said were going to be out at the beginning of our preview show are not out yet. So I would give it an A because I think everyone is off to a pretty decent start. There isn't no 0-18 teams, right? So that would be my opinion. So a couple more questions, and then we're going to just go into each division and talk about them individually. But if you look at April 30th, all right, bottom 5 teams in the American League is going to be Kansas City, Baltimore, Oakland, Los Angeles, and Boston. Those are your bottom 5 teams. Mike, which one of those is your biggest surprise that they're in the bottom 5?
I picked both Oakland and actually I think I picked both Oakland and Boston to get to the playoffs. I would say both those, and so I'm going to say probably going to say Boston because I never thought their rotation would be this bad this early, but it has been, and they've gotten socked around and pushed around, and they wanted to save money and not. John Henry didn't want to give money to Kimbrel, and they're paying for it. White Sox walked off on him again the other night, and it's enjoyable, yes, but I didn't think their rotation was going to be that bad. I thought that was going to keep them in this.
Dave, what do you think?
I totally agree with the Red Sox part of it because I didn't think they would win the division, but I thought they'd at least contend. I didn't think they'd bottom out, and I think the pitching would be quite as bad. But just as Mr. Mike said, I think not having Kimbrel and also Joe Kelly, that was 2 major factors in their bullpen last year. And also, and I'm drawing a blank on the fellow's name now. Who was the guy that pitched all those innings in the World Series in relief?
Evaldi.
Evaldi's not having the kind of year that they thought.
No,
so.
he wasn't going to either. I knew that. But go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, no. That was and the Oakland one doesn't surprise me because I thought Oakland was a shadow last year. I thought they got bad with Mir. When you're starting Liam Hendricks in your 1-game playoff, you're in trouble. So I didn't think that would last.
All right, Ron, what do you think, buddy?
I guess you'd have to say Boston, just for a lot of the reasons that were said. I mean, they just looked for the first 3 weeks of the season so uninterested, and Chris Sale making that contract pay off. Let me tell you, looked great for 30 pitches, and then after 31, it was Boomerang City. I think they're coming back around again. But as far as a complete surprise, the Red Sox at the bottom of the American League is a huge surprise.
All right. If this is a really tough one for me because when we did our preview show, the 2 things I said were Red Sox have good years, then they have a bad year. Good year, bad year, good year, bad year. So they're due to have a bad year. Was it going to be this bad though? I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But of course, it's only early. It's only 1 month in. But I thought they were going to be in the bottom half of the league, but not in the bottom 5. I mean, you're talking bottom rung there. So yeah, I guess Boston is the biggest surprise there. I also said that Oakland, everything went right for Oakland last year, and I didn't think they were going to repeat that magic from last year unless they did something in the off season. I don't think they did enough in the off season, and it's kind of showing now. So unless they start putting it together now, everything we say, because we're only a month in, next month it could be totally different. We all know that baseball is like that. But that's just at the end of April. That's my thoughts. Is seeing Boston in the bottom 5. I didn't think they were going to fall that far that fast. So let's talk about the American League top 5 now. Top 5. All right. We're going to go from number 5, Cleveland. Number 4, Yankees. Number 3, Houston. Number 2, Minnesota. And number 1 record at April 30th, the Tampa Bay Rays. David, you get first say. Which one of those, Cleveland, New York, Houston, Minnesota, and Tampa Bay, which is your biggest surprise there?
I think Tampa, but not because they're doing well, but because they're the top team right now. And there's a guy named Tyler Glass now that nobody ever heard of before with the Pirates. He was a journeyman. And I believe he's undefeated for Tampa Bay.
You're real soft, bud. I mean, we could hear you, but you're real. There you go. Now you're back in. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like you come in and out.
But what I was saying is Tampa Bay. Because there's a guy named Tyler Glass now that is just totally, came out of obscurity and is really led that team. I'm not surprised that they're winning, but the fact they have the best record is a surprise. But then again, I mean, when is it no longer early? People always keep saying it's early, it's early. When does it shift from being early to not being early?
Right. That's right. Ron, what do you think, bud?
The Yankees. Not because I didn't think they were going to be good, but when you lose everybody and their brother and they continue to win, and they continued to win as the month of May started, I mean, this could have been a lost season for them early on, and you would have said, geez, all those injuries. But I mean, I picked Tampa to win the division, but the fact the Yankees are hanging around without their best players is pretty surprising to me. And it just goes to show maybe, Boone is a better manager than people thought. But what do I know?
Never. Mike, what do you think? Top 5, Cleveland, New York, Houston, Minnesota, Tampa Bay. What do you think?
Well, my personal opinion, I guess the number one surprise are the Rays and the fans who don't give a flying heck about them. They average about 12,000, 13,000 an outing. I'm not sure. It's amazing. This team is having probably an epic April, and they don't care about their team. I mean, come on. I mean, this is a perfect example why they need to get out of Tampa Bay, and either that or get them and fund them a new place or something. I mean, to me, that's the biggest surprise. Is they're probably last in attendance and they have the best record in baseball right now. They'd be the number. I was doing probably the same thing you did. I was filling out my playoff brackets, and Tampa Bay would be the number 1 seed playing the winner of the Cleveland Yankee Wild Card Series right now at the end of April. That is amazing. That they're the number one overall seed right now in the AL. That, yes, I think Cash is a really good manager. And it's not all about openers this year, because they got 2 pitchers in Snell and Glass now who are now pitching well. So, they thought they made a mistake and got rid of Archer, but it looks like they, by keeping now Glass now Snell, they actually got a formal 2-man rotation right now. And
about throw it a third. How about Charlie Morton come over from Houston? And he's been throwing lights out for Tampa Bay.
I was surprised. Again, I think I said in the first series, I thought he was a part of the Houston Frankenstein monster out there, and Brent Storm's velocity and whatever system he was promoting to get his pitchers to pitch. I'm surprised he's that good. I thought he was just a proponent of the system in Houston, but good for him. He's a local kid in Northeast, so I give him credit for that, and that gives him, again, 3 quality pitchers in that rotation.
Right, absolutely. 3 quality starters that are not even trying to use they've used some shenanigans, but not too much, and been solid. But for me, we're talking about the top 5 teams: Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Houston, New York, and Cleveland. You guys kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to say the New York Yankees, because who remembers the Yankees started off 1-6 on the season? They start off 1-6, then they get almost. I heard on the radio they had 6 players on their starting day roster from opening day on the DL, and they had a total of 13 players on the DL, and they come all the way back, and then now are at the end of April they were 17-12 after starting off 1-6 and having everybody on their team go on the IR. That makes it so. That's the biggest surprise for me on the in the top 5 for sure. I mean, anybody in the right mind could say that 10-17 would be amazing, let alone 17-10. So I'm going to say the biggest surprise for me right now in the American League top 5 is going to be the Yankees. All right, so let's talk about each division now. Let's kind of get it down to the nitty gritty now. We've kind of given our overview thoughts. Let's go American League East. We'll do it, kind of in order, and then we'll go and do this all over again for the National League. Who wants to start for the American League East? Let's go with Mike because he's got a big Yankee support there. So let's see how he feels about the American League East. So for those of you keeping score at home, Tampa Bay 19-9, Yankees 17-12, Toronto 14-15, Boston 13-17, and Baltimore 10-20. So what do you think, Mike? What stands out in the American League East for you?
Well, I think if they can get their starters back and somewhat healthy and get to the trade deadline, if they need to add a piece in case they don't get Judge back, and I think they're going to win the division. I think Tampa Bay is going to come back down to earth. I'm saying it right now, May 1st. Who knows? And we'll be looking at Memorial Day when that's supposed to be the day to look at everything. But I think the Rays have to come back down to earth. I just don't. They haven't. Then again, they've finally started playing Boston, and Boston actually took them a few games. So Tampa Bay's had played a little bit. I thought of an easier schedule if I think about it right. So yeah, Yankees already did their West Coast trip already. One of them. Thank God they got out of it. Amazingly, did 7-2 on an incredibly hard trip, or 7-3. They lost 2 in Arizona, and then one in Anaheim and sweeping San Francisco, which I thought was a great trip for them. Now they're coming home. They're getting Seattle next week, which could be tough. We'll see how that works out. They got the rest of Minnesota this series. They get Boston at the end of the month, so I already kind of looked ahead. So, and they also got Tampa Bay, I think, twice too, 2 different series. So you're going to see a shift. And I had the Yankees winning this division and winning 90+ games. I think they can still do it. They have to start getting healthy, or they need to start buying some bats somewhere. Because to me as a fan, I'm tired of seeing the outfield, what they have out there. Your corners are supposed to be hitting for power and doing everything else. Gardner's not doing it. It's just I'm having a hard time. Now they got Maben. Okay, that's fine. But give me some bats. So, not saying sign Kemp, but you never know if he could still field. I'm not sure, but
let me play devil's advocate for just a second, because I want to I thought about something. When you start getting all these players back, right? Because they were on the injured list and all that, that can actually be an advantage, because they come October, they're not going to have put in 162 grinding games throughout the season. So there is kind of an advantage of having your players on the DL, especially if you can keep up. It's kind of like I use a basketball terminology where, I'm up by 10 points and I take all my starters out and I put on all my scrubs. As long as they can keep that 10-point deficit, that's going to help me in the long run, because my starters get to rest. And then when it comes crunch time at the end of the game or the end of the season, I can put my regulars back in, and they're fresh and ready to go. Mike, what do you think about that?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, to me, if they're essentially pitching staff, pitchers, stuff like that. I mean, yeah, if Betances comes back healthy and he has his more innings, will be that way he's not overused and stuff like that. That's gonna be a favor. If they can get Severino back at some point, if it gives him a half a season, maybe that'll help him out when he gets to the playoffs. Maybe he'll be fully charged. Yeah, absolutely. Am I thinking I'm going to see Severino this year? Probably not, but we may see him maybe late July. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a month and a half out of him, and he'll throw lights out for 2 months, including the playoffs. So there's always that possibility, and that makes perfect sense.
All right. Ron, what do you think? American League East, sorry.
Well, if you're talking about basketball, to stay out of those 4 overtime games.
That's it.
I think someone should be given Tampa credit for the way they develop talent, because they're so much like the old Montreal Expos. They just develop great players. They're always in contention, and they never spend any money. And so, while yes, you would think that as the Yankees get healthy again, that would be beneficial to the Yankees or hurt Tampa. Look, they're still doing it. And, they started the season against Houston. Yes, they got swept by the Red Sox. So I still like Tampa's chances as we progress through the season. Yankees, we've talked about already, they're winning. And I can tell you from experience that you got someone who can motivate you when you're injured. Dusty Baker won 97 games with a Nats team that had 18 players in the DL at one point. No one's expecting anything out of Toronto, and that might be good for them. And Chris Sale is pitching better. I don't expect the Red Sox to sleepwalk through May. And they play professional baseball in Baltimore? I don't think so. But very if Tampa and the Yankees have 2 series, those are going to be big and worth watching, because I don't think Tampa's really going anywhere. Charlie Morton, as was brought up earlier, was a steal for them. But we'll see. It's a long season, and there's a lot of kids.
Yes. All right. David, I'm sorry it's taken us a while to get to you, Dave, but
It's okay.
what do you think about I'm gonna turn down my volume, sorry guys. What do you think about the American League East? What's your impression? What's your take? Give us your input. Give us your expertise, my friend.
Well, I mean,
you're soft again. We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me again? Hold on.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, a lot of good points were made. I do think that Boston will eventually right the ship a little bit. Don't know whether it's enough time to come back, but I think by the time we get to, say, July, the All-Star break, you're going to see the Yankees in first, Tampa in second, Boston in third, Toronto in fourth, and Baltimore bringing up the rear. And I think it could also, by that point, Dallas Keuchel and is going to be somewhere, and so will Kimbrel. And it's just a matter of who's going to sign him. Is it going to be the Yankees? Is it going to be Boston? And that could swing the tide one way or the other, because they could both use a starter, and they could both, well, the Yankees got a decent bullpen, but the Boston could definitely use. But there may be too much bad blood there. I don't think he's going to go back to Boston, but But Toronto is a big surprise to me, and they've also got some young players coming up. I mean, Vlad Jr. just came up, and
you're stealing my thunder, man. Go ahead, though.
Dante Bichette's son is Bo Bichette's getting ready to come up, and they got some good young players there. I don't know about their pitching, but they got some good young players.
Yeah. So I guess if I'm going to take something away from April, it's going to be the fact that Toronto is 14-15, almost 500, and only 5 games out of first place. And the Rays are killing it in April, 19-9, and they're only 5 games back. But Toronto, nobody expected Toronto. I think in our previous shows, I don't even think Toronto got mentioned by anybody. I can't recall anybody saying Toronto. Now, I'm not saying that Toronto's going to win the division. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? They're not Baltimore at this point. They're not the laughing stock, which is good. You don't want to be the laughing stock, right? You don't want to be the whipping boy. You want to have at least a reliable chance. I saw Vlad game when he Friday night when he got on, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation on a ground ball out. When does that ever happen? Never. Yep. So it's gonna give the fans in Toronto, they're going to come out in droves to see this guy, and they're going to support Toronto, which is going to want to make them play better. I don't think they're going to win the division this year, maybe not even next year, but they got hope in the horizon, and that's what I take out of April. They're not 10-20 at this point. They're 14-15, and I think that's respectable, especially considering the division they're in. So that's my take on the American League.
The Yankees in Boston, I think the Yankees in Boston will find trips to Toronto not too easy.
You know,
Yeah, I agree.
other thing
I think
about Toronto was the Maple Leafs lost early, and so if you're a sports fan, the Blue Jays are really now the only game in town. I don't know if the Raptors are still in the playoffs or not, but you know, as far as the primary sports fan, it now is the Blue Jays, and so yeah, I don't want to go to Toronto.
Don't get me started on John Tavares.
he's an Islander fan, I guess. All right, let's talk about the American League Central Division. Again, if Moni G's in the house, everybody say hello to Moni G.
Hello, Moni.
Oh,
Moni
thanks
G.
for coming on by, Moni. Appreciate it. Any other Nat King Curry the Fourth is here as well. Nat King Curry the Fourth. Check out his channel. Wonderful, wonderful channel out there. Bobby Catalano. Check out all of her YouTube and Twitter stuff that she's got going on. And what is it called? Facebook. And she's got all kinds of awesome projects. I'm still waiting for my special project she's supposed to be working on. Bobby, hello. All right, let's talk about the American League Central Division. So we're talking about Minnesota, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, and Kansas City. Minnesota 17-10, Cleveland 16-12, 1 game back. Detroit 13-14, 4 games back. The White Sox 12-14, 4 games back. The Kansas City 9-20, 9 games back. What stands out to you, Ron, in the American League Central Division?
Hey, Detroit doesn't suck. We expected them to do that, and they're kind of hanging in there. They even took 2 from the Red Sox in a 4-game set, which was good for it. They swept a doubleheader. In Minnesota is what you guys expected who you expected to win the division, and they came out very well. And Cleveland is hanging around long enough that they can't fire sale. And you know, I think if there was a division that went as status quo as we thought it was going to be a month ago, then I would say, look at the American League Central. It's except for Detroit playing 500 ball, it's gone as about what we expected it to be.
All right, Dave, what do you think?
Like I said, like Ron said, I mean, we in the beginning, or at least most of us, picked Minnesota to be at least up there, if not leading the division, at least up near the top. I do think Corey Kluber just got hurt, so I don't know how long he's out, but that's certainly going to, affect Cleveland. But I give Francona credit because Cleveland has no offense, and they're still hanging in there. I guess because of the great pitching. But I mean, they lost Michael Brantley, they lost Carlos. I mean, they lost Encarnacion, and they're still hanging in there. And like Ron said, Detroit. I guess Ron Gardenhire is managing his butt off over there with some of those young players. And Kansas City is who we thought they were.
All right. Mike, what do you think about the American League Central Division?
Well, Kluber broke his forearm, and they just got back Lindor. So I picked Minnesota too. So I'm very happy to see them second best record right now. I figured if you told me league in the American League in home runs was Eddie Rosario for the Twins, who's now tied with Gary Sanchez of the Yankees right now, you'd be getting high odds. So that kind of surprises me on Minnesota right now in their division. I think with the Royals losing their catcher, their soul of the team, he's going to be out, I believe, for most of the season. So that's going to be almost to the point where they will be fire selling probably at the end of the year, if not sooner. I mean, they may be worse of a team than Detroit or whoever else is in that division. I mean, I thought this would be a year White Sox are going to make a turn. Hopefully, it'll still happen. We'll see. I mean, they're still playing okay right now, so I'm kind of hoping they do all right. So we'll see right now it's a 2-team division, like I figured. It'll be Twins Indians, with wild cards coming from the other one, I'm guessing. So.
All right. And Ron, did you already talk, right? Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to forget you.
Nope.
So yeah, I agree with Ron's assessment. I think it's kind of going the way it was supposed to. Minnesota, Cleveland up there on top, and the other 3 teams. But the 2 surprises for me is Detroit doing as well as they were. Now, I know this panel is smarter than the other panel that we had in the preview show, but somebody else in the other preview show said Detroit could lose 120 games this season. If they're going to lose 120 games this season, they better start losing now because they're already 116. So I don't think Detroit is going to be as bad as he thinks. I think Detroit is going to be decent. I kind of compare them to Toronto. They kind of came out of nowhere, and they've got hope now that they're not as bad as people think they were, at least in April. And I think Detroit's got, as long as they can hang in there for the whole season. Now the question is, can they hang in there the whole season? We'll find out. Maybe by August they'll be 26 games out, and we'll be talking about how bad they are. But if they can just keep the hope up for their people, I know Moni G out there is a big Detroit Tigers fan. She probably watches every game and cheers them on. And winning is contagious. You start winning, you want to keep winning. So let's just hope they can do it. For me, my biggest surprise, though, is the Kansas City Royals. I saw them in preseason. I even saw a game of theirs. And I really thought Kansas City, with all that speed on their team, was going to be able to do something this season. But they have not got anything going on. They've got the speed, but they don't have any pitching, and they don't have climbing hitting. They have to get on base more. I'm surprised 9-20 they're going to be out of it if they keep this up next month. And I didn't think with Billy Hamilton on that team and Mondesi, I thought they would have get extra bases. They'd be able to score more. They're not scoring more at all. And I think that's hurting their team. They don't have the power that some of the other teams in the league do. If we look at their home run rates, I think they're like in the bottom 5 in the American League in home runs. They're just not as good as I thought they were going to. I just thought they would be a little bit better, and that's kind of a surprise for me. So we kind of covered the American League East, the American League Central. Let's go on to the American League West. So we're talking about Houston, 18-12, Seattle, 18-14, Texas, 14-14, Los Angeles, 13-17, and then Oakland, 14-18. What stands out with you, Dave, on that?
Well, I mean, Oakland's in last, but they're
you're real soft again.
Can you hear me now?
No.
No.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. We got you.
Yeah. No. Okay. Oakland, to me, I mean, they're in last place, but they're only 4 games under 500, so it's not like they're bottoming out. It is a surprise they're in last place. Texas, to me, is a surprise team. I thought Texas would be a bottom feeder, but the fact they're hanging in there at 500 is, to me, a surprise. I didn't think they were pitching for it. Houston, we kind of figured they were going to be there. Seattle, I thought would be there as well, but the Angels being down doesn't surprise me because they don't have Ohtani. They don't have a whole lot of pitching. But to me, the surprise team to me is Texas.
Yep. All right. Ron, what do you think?
I think Seattle, is coming out of the gate much better than everybody thought they would. I mean, they took Boston to school that first weekend of the season, and that's a ballpark where balls aren't supposed to fly out everywhere, and they did. And of course, I'd like to have whatever Justin Verlander's having for the Astros. Whatever it is he's eating, please send some to Vermont. If the A's being so bad, I didn't think would happen because they seem to be the MacGyver team of bubble gum and duct tape and rubber bands. But yeah, I'd be curious to see if Seattle can keep it up. I didn't think the Angels would be this bad. Texas is in a good way, but yeah, it really is Houston's world, and we're just allowed to live it.
That's it. Hey, Mike, what do you think, buddy?
I think the when we all started, it was right around the time where the Mets made the big deal for Cano, Diaz. We thought, what the heck is Seattle doing? Do they know what they're doing? I guess obviously they did. They are playing, to me, the most surprising of this division so far. I picked Houston to go all the way, and I think they do have the most talent in this division. They just got too much talent. They got Correa stays healthy. I think he's probably one of the best shortstops. They got Springer, one of the best outfielders. Bregman, I think, is one of the best overall young players they got, and they still got, along with Verlander and Cole, and also getting now mileage out of Osuna. They don't have to deal with Ken Giles now. So So I think it's Houston's eventually going to put the foot on the gas and run away with this. But I was, hopefully the A's. I thought the A's were better than this, a lot better than this, but they're kind of struggling right now. It's probably most of their pitching right now. But again, it's still early, and everyone's only separated about what 4 or 5 games. So and I feel sorry for Trout. He gets all this money and he has no protection at all. He's going to have an MVP type season. He's going to walk 200 times. He's going to have about a 600 slugging, and the team's going to finish like 20 games under 500 because everyone's pitching around him. So it's I feel sorry for him in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, ID, can I add something real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
I think now it used to be that Ernie Banks was the best player never to go to a World Series. I think Mike Trout will take over that award when his career's done.
Yep. For those of you who didn't hear what David said, he said that Mike Trout is probably going to be the player that goes down, at least right now, as best player to never make a World Series. You got real soft again, David. I don't know what you're doing.
Ernie Banks, to me, is holding that title right now, but I think Trout will take it.
Take it from him. When I look at the American League West, two things that stand out to me is Seattle. A lot of people forget started off 16-3. What happened? What the frick happened after that? They're now what are they? 18-14. They came back down, crashing down. They lost 6 in a row. Unfortunately, I was hoping they would be able to, if they could start off like Toronto, Tampa Bay or something, 22-10 or something crazy like that. But no, they've come way down to earth. They're 18-14. They lost 6 in a row. They're getting shellacked like 11-0 the other day against Minnesota, or I forget who was playing them, but they got shellacked 11-0. The only time they win is when they can score in bunches because their pitching is really that bad. But if you look at total home runs, 61, I think I saw Seattle's win has the most home runs, 61 home runs already in the season. Crazy amount of home runs, and that's how they're winning. But the biggest surprise, I'm going to go with, I think it was David that mentioned it, Texas. Nobody thought Texas was going to do anything. 10-20, 8-22, something like that. But 14-14, they're 500 right now. They're only 2 games out of first place. Are you kidding me? It's only April, of course, but still, who thought Texas had to play Houston twice already, which is, everyone was putting Houston in the World Series, to start the season. They had to play them twice. And I think they're like, if I'm not mistaken, they're like 4 wins and 2 losses against them. Against they're not playing cupcakes and they're 14-14. So I'd like to see Texas come back and at least stay relevant, keep things interesting in the Western Division. I think Houston eventually will run away with it, but hopefully not. So Clinton Parks is in the house. Hello, Clinton. Thanks for coming on by. We're going to switch over to the more important division now. That was kind of just a sideshow, all that stuff. Sideshow doesn't really matter. Now comes the important stuff. So Clinton showed up just in time for the important stuff. We're going to talk about the National League. So first things first, let's talk about the bottom dwellers. We're talking about Miami, the San Francisco Giants, Cincinnati Reds, Washington Nationals, and the Colorado Rockies. 3 of those 5 teams people had in the playoffs this year. Colorado, Washington, and Cincinnati. Somebody, when we did our preview show, somebody had those teams in the playoffs. So there's going to be surprises when we get to talk about the bottom dwellers. David, start us off, buddy.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's separate the 2 panels here. We're the distinguished panel. The other panel is the extinguished panel. So it was the extinguished panel that had Cincinnati, not us. Those in the know knew better. And now the one that surprised me, of course, is Washington. I knew they would be struggling, but not like this. Even with Dave Martinez, I was not expecting this. So to me, they're the definite surprise. Colorado I was not a fan of because I didn't like their pitching. But Washington being bottom, just totally to be that bad. I thought they'd be middle of the pack, but not bottom 5.
Hey, Mike, what do you think? Bottom 5. What's biggest surprise?
Probably since I picked them to be the NL representative will be Washington, and now they're starting to lose players. I'm not sure what the distance on the injury on Rondon is for now being hurt. Ron, what was on that? What
Who
was the
knows with this team? I'll get to that in a second. We have no
okay?
idea.
They should have
Okay.
fired their trainer.
Years ago.
So yeah, they to me, I guess the two bottom surprises are Colorado and Washington. But I think Colorado's going to of the two. I think Colorado's going to make a run at this. So, and I think they're a little bit better they're a lot better than they are showing right now of the five that you mentioned.
All right, Ron, what do you think, buddy?
Well, let's hold a moment to remember all the great memories that Matt Kemp gave the Cincinnati Reds during his brief tenure there. Okay, pulling over. Washington. That team is the Titanic, and it's crashed into the iceberg, and no one seems to know what to do. Injuries get misdiagnosed all the time. I mean, Rendon was out for almost a week before he was put on the injured list. Juan Soto's now on the injured list. You've got half of Fresno there on the team. Max Scherzer can't get any run support and or support in the field. I saw the other day that his ERA is over 4, but his FIP, his fielding independent pitching, his expected ERA is like 2.25. So it's not going right. They're not well run. They're not well managed. And Derek Lilliquist has his resume into LinkedIn. So I didn't expect much from Colorado. I did expect more from Washington.
Absolutely. Dave, did I give you a chance, buddy?
Yeah, I went first.
Okay. Mike, I'm sorry.
I already went already.
Okay, so we all went. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Sorry. Yeah, I am going to agree with the panel. I think Washington being there in the bottom 5, I had them going to the World Series, and I think I even have them winning the World Series. They, when we talk about the bottom feeders, right, and everyone laughs at them, we're talking like teams like Baltimore. We're talking teams like Miami. We're talking teams like have no sense of direction. That's why when we talk about teams like Toronto and Texas, that's why we're so happy for them. Is they have purpose, they have direction, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're doing it halfway decent. Washington can't do anything right. Their bullpen sucks. They can't get any hits. This is not the team I went and watched in the preseason. That's one of the reasons I picked them for the World Series when they played the Cardinals in spring training. Now, of course, it was spring training. They were rock solid every which way but loose, but they're a totally different team right now. I don't know if they need to get rid of their coaching. I know they got rid of the hitting coach the other day. I see the head coach going quickly if this keeps going downhill. A lot of people are going to blame it on the fact that Bryce Harper's now gone, but I think that should bring the team closer together, and they can still obviously come back, but they got a long roll to row, especially in their division, which we're going to talk about right now. We're talking about the National League East Division. Philadelphia, 16-13. The Mets, 15-14, 1 game back. Atlanta, 14-15, 2 games back. The Nationals, 12-16, 3.5 back. Miami, 8-21, 8 games back. Mike, what do you think about the National Leagues? We all thought it was going to be a tough division. 4 teams vying for it, and they're right there. What do you think?
Oh, so where is my stats? So right now, looking at Mr. Harper going to Philadelphia, hitting 234, 280 on base percentage, 477 slugging with an 857 OPS, 6 home runs, 20 RBIs. Well, I guess that salary has been well worth it, Philadelphia, so far for the first month of the season. That division to me is going to be won by default. Is who gets hot probably late in September and wants to win it. Can the Mets do it? DeGrom has been non-DeGrom right now this year. Syndergaard has been pitching better. Wheeler's been pitching better. Mets could win this division if they get hot because they're pitching. I think Philadelphia may end up winning it because I think they have better overall team offense with their new catchers and now Hodgkins is having probably having more of an MVP type season than Harper is. So I think if it comes down to it, I think Philadelphia is going to win it. I think Garrietta may take his leadership, being a veteran on this team, and hopefully it will help Nola out and hopefully get him going. And you might see Keiko in a Philly uniform if the Philly staff really wants to win this right now. So,
All right, Ron, what do you think, buddy?
Well, if you told me that Harper would get off to the type of numbers that he put up in Washington last year and the Phillies would kind of go around that and still be in first place, I'd wonder what you were smoking. But I agree with Mike. I think it's the Phillies division to lose. I think the Mets have played extremely well. Peter Alonso is a breath of fresh air for that club. And maybe the Mets, will make it a race. But Atlanta, I think, will do Atlanta type things, and Washington is already kind of a lost cause. Philly's doing what it has to do, and if Harper ever gets hot, that's woe to be to the rest of the National League East.
All right, Dave.
All right. Well, I agree with the panel. I think it's the Phillies to give away. Hear me okay?
No.
Okay.
That's the best way
No.
I can say it. Is no.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, can't see you.
We can't hear you, but your screen is like it froze for a second. Now it's just blank. So. Now we can't hear you at all. Not at all. I don't know. Oh, there you're back now. You froze up for a long time, so I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Nope. Now you're dead again.
Which is not the best ad in the world for Verizon,
Yeah, I actually have T-Mobile, so that's not.
Well,
I'm on this.
I can hear you now.
Really
Whatever you're doing now, just keep doing that. Stop doing the other thing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll stay here. Can you hear me now?
Come on, Dave. Stand on your head. You know that's how it's going to work.
Get some aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Yes, David. Go ahead.
I do think that the Phillies, it's their division to win. The Nationals keep saying that all the pundits keep saying it's still early, but in my opinion, they've already missed the boat. They've already missed the train. I think their ship has sailed. I don't care when they come back. As long as Martinez is there, it's not going to happen. Atlanta could be a contender if they sign Kimbrel to help to shore up their bullpen. Kimbrel's got to find a home somewhere. And Phillies, if they get some more pitching, Michael's still out there, so it wouldn't surprise me to have him spend more stupid money.
All right. Yep. I'm going to say I'm going to kind of agree with our distinguished panel. Right on again. I think at this point, it's going to be Phillies, Mets. If the Mets can somehow keep it close, in the preview show, I put the Mets in the playoffs. I think I was the only one. I still have faith that Mets can do something this year. Atlanta, they haven't been playing very good, very consistent baseball. They've been okay. They've been kind of up and down. Washington, we already talked about their struggles, and Miami. So it's going to come down to whether the Mets can keep things close with the Phillies. Everyone thought this is going to be a 4-man race, but I think it's down to 2 horses already. I think it's down to 2 horses, Mets and Phillies. Everyone was talking about the 4 big boys, but I think the 2 of them are already out. I think it's going to come down to the other 2. Now, I agree with David. I think if the Braves can pick up Kimbrel and shore up the bullpen, then maybe that might change things come our preview show in May. One thing I forgot to do, we did the bottom 5 in the National League, but we didn't do the top 5. So let's do that before we move on to the division, the Central Division. So the top 5 in order. Number 5 is the Cubs. Number 4 is the Padres. Number 3 is the Diamondbacks. Number 2 is the Dodgers. And number 1 is the Cardinals. Now, if somebody would have said in our preview show, these are going to be the top 5 at the end of April, we'd all laughed at them like, no, that's pretty funny, dude. What do you think? Let's start off with Ron this time. What do you think, Ron?
As far as the biggest surprise of the top 5, I think the Dodgers. I think we all left them for dead to start the year, and Cody Bellinger decided that he wanted to be Mike Trout. I mean, he's got the leads in all of baseball in WAR at 3 points. He's got 3.7 wins already after 1 month or the first few days of being there. I'm not surprised about the Padres or the Cardinals, but I am about the Dodgers, especially now if Kershaw keeps pitching well. So that would be my biggest surprise.
David?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes. As long as you hold the phone exactly there, we can hear you.
Exactly here. I won't move it. I'll stay right here.
Right there.
Well, to me, the biggest surprise, hands down, is the Diamondbacks. I had them bottoming out. They lost Goldschmidt. They lost Corbin. And they're just I know they have Christian Walker's coming into his own, but I just thought the Diamondbacks were going to battle for last place. So to me, they're the biggest surprise. Pleasant surprise.
Sports Time Machine, what you got, man?
In the beginning, I thought with the injuries of Bueller, Kershaw, I thought, you know what, this is going to be it. This may be the end of the Dodgers' reign of terror in the NL West, and honestly, this could be their best team. And they might run away with this because Colorado will make a run. I'm going to tell you right now, and I think Dave's right about Arizona probably being probably the bottom top 5 team in this division. Because I did predict the Padres, I believe, to get in the playoffs or be a top contender because their young group of kids they got coming up with Tatis. So I thought they were going to do well in this. I thought they're going to do well in the top 5. I picked the Cardinals to win the East. So yeah, I totally agree there. But the Dodgers right now, they got better pitching in the beginning, and they held strong until Bueller and Kershaw came back. This could be a really tough team at the end of the year where they can run away with the National League's best record, I think.
All right. Wow. This for me is like the toughest thing we're going to talk about is which is the biggest surprise. I have kind of like 1 and 1A, 1B. I don't think Arizona or San Diego. I didn't give either one of those teams credit. In our preview show, I said it was going to be Dodgers. The Dodgers were going to blow everyone out of the water. They still could, but I didn't see anybody even coming out of the anyone else in that division. I didn't think Colorado was going to be any good. I thought the Dodgers are going to win this division by 25 games. But Arizona and San Diego both being on that top 5 team of the list is very, very surprising to me. Very surprising. So I'm giving it 1A and 1B on that because they're both good. They both get a shot at giving the Dodgers a run. And I thought the Dodgers were going to just dominate this division. And like I said, they still might, but it's a good start for Arizona. Arizona's played some tough teams. They played the Cubs. They played the Red Sox so far. So they've got tough games, and they're 17 and 13, so 4 games above 500 at the end of April, which is not bad. All right, so now let's go back to the divisions. Let's talk about the Central Division, one of the most important divisions in baseball, the National League Central. St. Louis 19 and 10, Cubs 15 and 12, Milwaukee 17 and 14, Pittsburgh 13 and 14, Cincinnati 12 and 17. Baseball demos. What do you got to say about the Central Division? Oh my God, we're gonna just skip him from now on.
Am I on yet? Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can. Okay. Before I get to my Central picks, Now I know why you graded it A, because the Cardinals and the Rays are the two best records in baseball. So that's why you give the season A so far. That's what it really is. But I picked the Cardinals to go to the World Series, so that's not a surprise to me. I mean, they're who I thought they were with all the additions they made. The Reds are who I thought they were, because I thought they had no pitching, and I didn't think that getting Kemp was going to do them any good, and I'm not sure if Puig does them any good. And I know Tanner Roark doesn't do them any good. Cubs are a little bit surprising. They're getting some good pitching, so that's, maybe the genius can string it out a little bit further. But in Milwaukee, they have every game at home they can win the division, but when they're going to go on the road, it's a whole different story. They're night and day.
Yeah. Ron, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, it kind of is like the end of the last regular season. St. Louis, we expected St. Louis to be really good. He's going to eat, isn't he? We expected St. Louis. What do you got there? Oh,
Apple turnover.
We expected St. Louis to be good. They are. Milwaukee, I mean, hey, they made it to Game 7 of the NLCS last year. Christian Yelich gets out of Miami. He's a good player. Hey, who figured that out? As Dave said, the magician in Chicago is on the hot seat, and they've made it work. Pittsburgh, about what we thought they would do, and I'm really not surprised about Cincinnati.
All right. Hey, Mike, what do you got?
Probably my most disappointment to me when I go back to my picks is I did pick Cincinnati. I thought maybe we'd get third in this division behind the top two teams. I thought maybe they were going to have some youngsters come up, play well. Big fan of Jesse Winker from different leagues I've been with, so I thought he'd be as good as he is. I thought Votto would have kind of more of a bounce back year. So yeah, I thought they would be okay. I think I did pick the Cardinals to get to the NL championship against Washington. So yeah, I did pick them. I thought Goldschmidt might have been the deal of the off season. So I'm going to stick with my pick there. But the thing that has kind of surprised me is the league has figured out how to hit Josh Hader. And for Milwaukee, that could be a problem. So they may need to find some arms at some point. Yelich 1,200 or so OPS that he has so far, 1,264 OPS, and Bellinger's at 1,337 OPS, are just outright raking right now in the National League. And if you asked me they were going to do that in the beginning, I would be like, no, I didn't think they were both, capable of doing that. But it looks like Yelich may be looking for back-to-back MVPs. So I think it's going to be close at the end. I think the NL Central may be the most fun league at the end, fun division, and that's toward the end of the year. It could be a two or three team race at least two between the Brewers and the Cardinals. So, and the Cubs are probably my most surprising team. Sorry, because I thought they were dead. I thought they were fine. I thought Madden finally overran his team. We're finally get him out of there. Not a fan of him at all. And all of a sudden, he's pulling cats. He's pulling cats 9 lives out. So let's see if he can control it and get. Right now, they'd be in the playoffs if the playoffs started now. So let's see what happens. It could be a fun year.
Yeah, could be. Let's hope so. We're going to have nothing to talk about come the end of May, right?
Well, plenty of talking about.
Biggest surprise, I thought it was going to be. I thought Milwaukee was going to run away with the division. I thought the Cardinals were going to get a wild card. I didn't even have the Cardinals picking winning this division. The Cardinals had to play Milwaukee 10 times in the first month. 10 times. They don't see them again until I think it's August 8th or something like that. They played them, and they got their butts beat when they were in Milwaukee. Milwaukee looked like they were going to run away with this division, and they were like, beating up on the Cardinals. I was like, oh, this is over. So the biggest surprise for me is the fact that Milwaukee is hit a wall. After they got done beating up on the Cardinals, they can't beat nobody. And everyone else is they're in third place now. Of course, they're only 3 games back, but still, I thought Milwaukee was going to at least for the first couple months, dominate this division, and they are not doing it. I thought they were going to have it. Yelich, as Mike said, he's batting 1,200 OPS. Somebody else, Kane. There's like 3 players on their team that hit, and if they wouldn't have shut out the Cardinals like 5 games in a row, then their pitching would be skyrocketed. But because they have zeros against the Cardinals, they're kind of not as high as they should. When the Brewers played everyone else, they're giving up 8 to 10 runs. They're just not as good as I thought they were. And the Cardinals, fortunately for me and Cardinal fans, they are better than people gave them credit for, which is a little bit surprising. I thought it was going to be the other way around. I know when we talked in the preview show, I talked, I wish the Cardinals wouldn't have picked up Osuna and they would have picked up Yelich instead. And the first 2 weeks of the season, I looked like a genius, right? But then the next 2 weeks, what happens? Ozuna's hitting 387 and has the most RBIs for that span time period, and Yelich isn't even playing. So then all of a sudden it switches, and I'm like, "Wait, good, we got Osuna instead of Yelich." So yeah, the fact that Milwaukee is not as good as I thought they were going to be is a little bit surprising. I thought they were going to pull it away. I thought maybe the Cardinals could try to keep it close, but Cardinals being 3 up is a little bit of a shock. So. All right, let's talk American League West. I know this one's going to be a long rant for me. So, who wants to go first? Let's go with Ron here on this one.
In the NL West,
The National League West, you got the Dodgers. Then Arizona and San Diego are tied at 17 and 13. Then you got Colorado, which is 13 and 17, and then San Francisco at 12 and 18. So American League West.
Just had that hunch that San Diego was ready, and Machado's had a good year for them too. The Dodgers, of course, have the 2-time defending National League champions. Dave Roberts starts the season on the hot seat just because of, postseason perceived failures. I mean, geez, a Game 7 of a World Series and they got steamrolled by the Red Sox. That's not the worst thing to happen in the world. But for them to come out like they have, and for Bellinger to take that team on his shoulders, remember, he's only a second or third year in the majors, it's tremendous stuff. And so, I really am surprised how well they came out. I talked about San Diego being good. Arizona must be the new turf. They must like it because they're playing awful well. Never really been sold on Colorado. And the Yankees swept the Giants on Metallica weekend. That tells you just everything about San Francisco you need to know, that the Yankees ruined Metallica week. Of course, maybe Mariano Rivera could have come out and enter Sandman, but yeah, I think the Dodgers, I think, had the most to prove to people, and they've gone out and done it.
Baseball demos.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just pulled up the up-to-date standings in the West, and the Dodgers are the only team that is playing better at home than they are on the road. The other teams in the division are playing better on the road than at home, except for the Giants, who are the same. But Arizona's 12 and 6 on the road, only 7 and 7 at home. That's kind of surprising. San Diego's 11 and 6 on the road, 7 and 9 at home. But the Dodgers are 12 and 4 at home. So, and the Dodgers have a plus 37 run differential. So I still think the Dodgers will eventually pull away a little bit. I'm thinking Arizona will fall a little bit, and I think San Diego might stay in it a little bit longer. I think San Diego might actually take second place. And I think Colorado and Arizona will fight for third, and San Fran just kind of waddle until they fall away, until Bruce Bochy retires.
Right. I think Sports Time Machine, you went, right?
Nope, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I think again, we're looking again and again at another. Unless something happens, I mean, I see Arizona falling back with Colorado and San Diego coming back up, and right now with Bellinger over 1,000 OPS, their team, even Jot Peterson's hitting with mirrors at 955 right now. David Freese, you were talking about earlier, isn't in a Dodger uniform right now. He's actually like an 840 OPS. He's been playing third sometimes for him. Munchie's having an okay season so far. Justin Turner just hit his first home run so far, so he's probably going to get hot at some point. So I think the Dodgers are playing it right now. Bellinger's like Ron said, he's put the whole team on his shoulders. and this team's got a lot of talent. I mean, especially a lot of pitching. I think Bueller is the real thing from last year. We'll hopefully Jansen's one of my favorite guys, stays healthy, but who knows? That's his heart and everything else. So let's see what happens. But I think San Diego, I think this is their team with Renfroe and Tatis. This team has been bad for so many years. They've gotten so many good draft picks. It's time for the the El Paso Chihuahuas, who are the AAA franchise of the Padres. You're gonna see a lot of their younger kids, and hopefully you'll see this new Padre regime start taking over next year or two. I think you're going to see a change of power, I would think, in the next year or so. So
here's my take on the American League West, and this is about everything you need to know about their teams. I own, the baseball where you can watch it online, and I get every game except for the local team, right? So I can't watch the local team, but I can watch every other team. Okay? Every other season, when the game is Arizona playing so-and-so or San Diego playing so-and-so, nobody watches them because nobody cares about them. This season, I probably watched more Arizona games and more San Diego games than any season in the last 4 or 5 years. And that's because they are playing some good, interesting, fun baseball. I'm telling you, that's why I rated this as A. Remember in the beginning, guys, I rated this game at A? Who would have thought that Arizona and San Diego? So that tells you what this division is, right? Everyone knows the Dodgers, and everyone's going to watch the Dodgers games. You have to be a true Padres fan or a true Diamondback fan to watch these two teams. But when you can get other people like me out there watching your team because you're playing some good ball, that means you got a good team out there. And hopefully they'll be like Toronto, they'll be like Texas, and they can keep going on. I still think the Dodgers are Class A and these other teams are B, but hopefully they'll prove me wrong. But the thing is, since they're a B team and not a C or D team, at least I'm interested in finding out what's going on with their team. And that is going to get them fans, and that's going to give them support, and that's going to get that's going to drive their franchise forward, hopefully. And that's what we're talking about. All right. So in the back of your minds, guys, I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about this while you answer a different question. So what I'm going to have you do is write down or just tell me or whatever. You're going to power rank the top 5 teams total, not American League and National League, just your top 5. You're going to place them in order if you want to start thinking about it. But the question I'm going to give you as you can start writing these down as other people are answering this. So IDJESTER is going to be the super nice guy, which he always is. We all know that. And I'm going to give you a reprieve on your World Series pick from the preview show. All right? So I'm going to give you a reprieve. So we're going to talk, and if I give you a reprieve, you're going to tell me who you would put in the World Series now as opposed to when we had the preview show. And we're going to keep track of these and see if they change throughout the season. And we're also going to keep track of the power rankings and compare those through the season as well. So, Ron Juckett.
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you a reprieve. Your teams you picked back when we did our preview show, you don't have to continue picking those. Who do you think is going to be 2019 World Series matchup, and who's going to win it?
Well, didn't I pick Houston and St. Louis?
I could have. I don't know.
That's who I'd go with now.
So you don't need to change.
I'm
You're
not.
like, I'm a genius. I know what I'm doing. I know what you guys are doing.
Well, I could change in about a month, but right now, I mean, it's Houston's playing well, and St. Louis did exactly what they needed to do in the off season, and it's still okay. It's May 4th, but yeah, I would take Houston and St. Louis, and I think that's what I took back in before the season started.
All right, Dave, I'm giving you a reprieve. I know you need one, just like I do. Dave, I'm giving you a reprieve. Who do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I originally picked St. Louis and the Yankees in the World Series. So I think I'm going to take an American League reprieve and go back to Houston. So I'm going to stick with St. Louis and Houston, just like Ron did, because I had St. Louis already.
St. Louis and Houston, okay. And Ron takes St. Louis and Houston. And Mike, I've given you a reprieve if you need one. Do you need it?
Yes, I do. I had the Astros playing the Nationals. I guess the Nationals, like Dave said, their boat, their train, everything else has left the station. So I think the Dodgers are going to be for real with their starting rotation. So you may see a rematch from 2017 and be Astros and Dodgers.
All right. All right, so guys, remember that. Write that down. Keep that information. When we have our May preview show, we're going to see if our thoughts change. I'm going to take a reprieve too. I'm going to take a reprieve. I originally had Houston and Houston and Washington, and I had Washington beating Houston in 7 games or 6 games, one of those two. But I'm gonna keep with Houston. I think Houston is so far a good solid pick, so I don't need to change that. But I'm going to change my National League team. And surprise, surprise, I'm not going to take the Cardinals yet. I'm still not. Yeah, I know. I'm still not bought in to their that much better than everyone else. So surprise, surprise, I'm not taking the Cardinals. In fact, I'm taking a team I'm not even happy I'm taking. I think it's going to come down to the Dodgers and the Phillies in the division finals, and I think the Phillies are going to take it because I still think the Phillies are going to make some deadlines, and they're going to go for it this year. I think the Phillies and Houston are going to be your World Series matchup this year. So that's my guess. We'll see. Hopefully I'll change my mind next month, but we'll see. All right. So now we're going to do our top 5 power rankings. Again, this isn't National League and American League. You're putting them all together. Your top 5. Start with number 5 and go up to number 1. Utah, Mike, lead us off, brother.
Right now, number 5 I have as the Cubs. Number 4 are the Twins. Number 3 are the Rays. Number 2 are the Cardinals, and number 1 are the Dodgers.
All right. Give me those one more time because I want to compare. I'm going to write them down so I can compare how everyone does.
5 Cubs. 4 Twins. 3 Rays. 2 Cardinals. 1 Dodgers.
All right. And baseball demos, what do you have for your top 5?
All right, and you want me to go in reverse order, correct?
Yeah, it would be easier for me.
Okay. All right, number 5 I have is the Twins.
Okay.
Number 4 is the Dodgers.
Okay.
Number 3 is, I'm still going to stick with the Yankees.
Okay.
Number 2 is the Cardinals.
Okay.
And number 1 is Houston.
All right. And Mr. Ron Juckett.
I would go with the Cubbies 5. I would go with Houston 4, Arizona 3, St. Louis 2, and the Dodgers 1.
All right. I'm going to go, I'm going to go, here's my ranking here. So number 5 is going to be Philadelphia. I still think they're going to surprise people still. I hate it because I'm not a big Phillies fan, as you all know. Number 4, I think is going to be the Yankees. I think the fact that they're still in it and they don't have any of their players, I think that come September baseball when the other teams are wearing out, they're going to have some fresh faces and fresh bodies in there, and I think they can come back. Number 3 for me is going to be LA. The Dodgers, I think, are still – I think they're going to lose the series against the Phillies, but I still think they're a better team. Okay, I hope you understand how that works. Number 2, I think, is St. Louis, and number 1 is Houston. So that's my 5.
By the way, Baseball Reference has the Cubs as the best team in baseball.
Wow. I'll tell you what, I didn't get into the Cubs, but to be honest, who remembers when the Cubs were 6-12 to start the season? And everybody was like, wow, this team is horrible. And they were not very good, and they were not doing anything. Now all of a sudden what are they? They're 15-12. And they just beat the Cardinals 2 games in a row today. In this weekend, and they look like they are for real. And I'm kind of nervous, to be honest. So who else does Baseball Reference? What's their top 5?
Their top 5 is Chicago, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Arizona, and Houston.
Wow.
Not a lot of love for Minnesota. Minnesota at 10 and Philadelphia at 17.
Where are the Rays at?
The Rays are ranked 6th, and the Yankees
Okay.
8th.
That's right. I had the Yankees out of mine too.
I'm just looking at everyone's picks, and it looks like we all kind of think St. Louis is pretty good. We all think Houston's pretty good. There's a couple that stand out. There's 1 vote for the Rays and only 1 vote. So people, tell me, what does Tampa Bay have to do to convince you guys they're one of the top 5? Now, they didn't convince me either, and I'm a local guy, right? They didn't convince me to put them in the top 5. What is it going to take? I know one of you, and I forget who it was, went on this rant earlier about why are the Rays, they are as good as they are, and nobody's giving them credit. David, what is it going to take? They have to go 40-5 for you for probably say they're a good team? What is it going to take, David? Come on.
Well, they are a good team, but I don't think they're in the top 5. That's just my viewpoint.
All right. So what is it going to take for them to put them in the top 5? For you to put them in the top 5?
They are leading the AL East at the All-Star break, then I will be a believer.
Okay. Ron, what is it going to take from you, man?
Let's see where they are on Memorial Day when we can finally start paying attention to the standings.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do. Hang on. Don't go anywhere. If you're planning on going anywhere, don't, because I've got something I'm pulling up. Oh, Nile. Here we go.
If you were given top 10, they would probably be at like 6 or 7. I mean, I'm not down on the Rays. I just think there are better teams out there.
All right. Let me see.
And there's nothing wrong with London Broil, but filet mignon is better. And by the way, Clinton Parks, if you give him his World Series redo, would take the Twins and the Phillies.
Minnesota and Philadelphia. All right. Clinton, maybe you can make our next one. All right. So I was looking up to what Tampa Bay was last year at the All-Star break, July 4th, just July 4th in reference.
Mm-hmm.
And they were 43-43. And respectable in that division. They actually did better in the second half than they did the first half, to be honest. The first half, they were just 43-43. They were 15 games back, but of course, Boston was like on a tear like they would never believe. But nobody gave them credit last year either. Nobody gave them credit. They almost were able to pull out a wild card team. I don't understand it either, Sports Time Machine. Give us some more love for the Rays. Talk to them. Convince these other guys they're wrong. You got them as number 3 team. We talked about their pitching, right?
Right. They have 3 solid starters, and this in baseball is all about pitching. If they can shut you down, and their opener is probably one of their best pitchers, I believe, too. So, and if they follow that up with the other kid in Yarborough, so they really do have the 4th pitcher too. I believe it's Skanik who comes in and pitches like 2 innings, lights out, throws 99 miles an hour, and then they put Yarborough for 4 or 5, and like I said, they're one of the best teams in baseball who no one cares about because of where they're at. And I stand behind their American League's best team because they got American League's best record right now. Yeah, I choose the Astros to win it, but I just think the Astros are still kind of they're sitting there right now. They haven't made their surge. We'll see at the end of May how well they're playing. But I think the Twins are playing well, but I think they'll drop out of my top 5 before our next conference here. But I don't think the Rays are going anywhere, not yet.
I think the National League guys is so much better overall than the American League, or at least the top teams. It's hard to say, well, who would you knock out for Kirby? Who would you knock out for Tampa Bay? That's my take. It's not, it's not a case I think Tampa is bad or underachieving or anything like that. I just think that the National League is that good.
All right, so I pulled up current. Now this is going to take a few games in May, obviously, since it's May the 4th. If I was to ask you guys, team batting runs per game, top 5. Give me somebody in the top 5, David. And team batting runs per game, David.
Runs per game. I would think Minnesota would be up there.
Minnesota is 6. You're wrong. Sports Time Machine. Give me somebody in the top 5 runs per game.
Seattle.
Ding, ding, ding. Ron, you give me somebody.
I could cheat since I've got that tab open, but I won't. The Dodgers.
They are 7th. Number 1, Texas.
Wow.
At 5.7 runs per game. Number 2, the White Sox, 5.66 runs per game. Seattle was number 3, I think. Sports Time Machine, you said Seattle, right?
Right.
5.59 runs per game. Arizona, 5.34. And the 5th, the New York Yankees, 5.29. Give me someone in the bottom 5. We'll start with Sports Time Machine. Bottom 5 in runs per game.
I watched it this weekend. The Giants don't have anything besides Posey. Giants.
Ding, ding, ding. You're right. Ron.
I cheated and looked. I pass.
All right. David.
Pass.
Pass?
I'm
can't
going to guess
pass?
Kansas.
What?
Ron said he
Yeah,
passed.
Ron passed. You don't get to pass, though.
No, I'm saying Kansas City.
You aren't even close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10th from the bottom is Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
Bottom 5, Miami, 2.84. Pittsburgh, 3.38. San Francisco, 3.44. So, Sports Time Machine, you're 2 for 2. Good job there. Detroit, believe it or not, 3.48. And San Diego,
Wow.
5th from the bottom, 3.7 runs per game. Let's talk about we want to talk about pitching. We are going to do the runs allowed per game, top 5. Ron, you get to go first. Top 5 pitching.
I won't look this time. Philadelphia?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
No,
8,
I'm wrong.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th down on the list.
Wow.
Mike.
Now you're talking about the worst team, right? So it runs
Talking
allowed.
about teams that give up the least amount of runs
That's
for pitching.
Mike.
Oh, the least amount of runs. Okay, so you're looking for the better teams here.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
I'm sorry?
Tampa Bay.
Ding, ding, ding. And David.
I would go with the Cubs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th on the list.
David, we struck out again.
It looks like the only person that knows what they're talking about is Sports Time Machine, Utah Mike. 3 for 3 so far, guys. Number 1, ding, 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 the Rays. Number 2, Cincinnati. Number 3, Cleveland. Number 4 is Houston. And number 5, Toronto. Now let's do worst runs allowed per game pitching. This time we'll let David go first.
Orioles.
Ding, ding, ding. You got one. Utah Mike.
Oh, let's see. So who are about? Royals.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 8th, so you probably missed one. And Ron?
Miami?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
My
7, 8,
God!
9, 10, 11. They're 11th. You are really bad at this game.
I suck.
Number 30
We're
would
as
be
good as Dave
Baltimore,
Martinez.
which David got. He took the easy one. Seattle was number 2. Why do you think they're only 16 and 17 now when they score like 11 runs every game? It's because their pitching gives up 5.56 runs per game. That's why. The White Sox are number 3rd from the worst. Texas, believe it or not, is 4th from the bottom. And 5th from the bottom, the New York Mets. Wow. I mean, some of that stuff, when you look at it, is really surprising. You would not think that. But, that's some cool stuff I just thought we would look at real quick here. But, all right, so last words of wisdom. If you have anything else you want to say, any team you want to bring up that you want to talk about or anything, now it's just an open forum for discussion. So, Ron, you got anything?
Gonna talk about 2 teams I think that have no pressure on them whatsoever and are worth watching as we go forward. Toronto, as we talked about, they seem to be, when you don't realize that you're not supposed to be playing well, sometimes it can be easy. And I like what the Mets are doing right now. They got off to the hot start last year and crashed, and that's not what they've done. Hopefully they won't do the same thing this year. I think they're going to both teams are going to hang around. That doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're both headed in the right direction.
All right, David.
Well, I'm going to be the eternal optimist, even though I do like masochism sometimes in my picks. I do think that before the All-Star break, Dave Martinez will be fired.
Hallelujah.
And I think they will sign Keuchel, and they will also sign Kimbrel.
Wow.
They're going to go for it because they're pitching right now. They're 4th, and Anibal Sanchez is a joke. Hellickson, they don't trust past 4 innings. And their bullpen, other than Doolittle, is awful. So I think once Rizzo fires Dave Martinez, they bring in somebody else, get some fresh blood. They're going to give it a kick for the second half of the season. Then if they don't win, they're going to tear the team down.
All right. Utah Mike.
Let's see. Chris Davis will get another hit before we talk again. That's supposed to be funny. Come on, guys. Come on.
And Trevor Rosenthal might be back in the majors.
So yeah, I like that. And as for the guys who are now people, I guess I remember Al saying that spring training matters and how many pitchers. I think Ron was talking about that too. How much really spring training or bats did Machado and Harper get in the spring? Well, Machado was only hitting 235 with only a 728 OPS, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs as of today. And like I said, for Harper with 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, he has a higher on base. He's 857 OPS, but he's only hitting 234 either. So maybe these guys should accept a little bit better contract offers and get more of a spring training. These 2 guys have been struggling so far. So we'll see at the end of May if Machado still likes playing in the non-launching pad of Petco, and if Harper finally gets to like Citizens Bank more and starts to carry this Philly team, which if he does, along with Hoskins and Romoto and their pitching staff holds up, Phillies could run away with this division just as easy as anyone else too. So, but I'll throw a caveat in there and say I listen to New York sports radio all the time. It's something I love to do. What I hear about all the dang time is Cespedes, how he's ruined this team and everything else. He doesn't play. If he comes back and gives his team at the end of July at some point something, or has the same type year he had when he came over the first time, he could carry this Met team along with Alonso and McNeil and everything else. And if their pitching holds up, again, they could, like ID said, they may be a team to, surpass the Phillies also.
Beautiful. You guys are awesome. I love you all. We're going to do this again at the end of May. So plan on it. My biggest take from April is why I gave this season an A, and I've kind of talked about it throughout our discussion here, is all the teams in the middle. There were supposed to be like 10 really good teams, 10 in the middle, and 10 really bad teams, right? I mean, we all talked about Detroit being bad, and San Francisco and Toronto and all these bad teams. To be honest, there's only two bad teams. Baltimore and Miami are like the only really bad teams that I see.
Kansas City.
Oh, well, that's true. Kansas City. So, I mean, there's only three when there was supposed to be 10, which means those other teams are now up there fighting for things. And that's why he gave it an A. Instead of having a season where you have 10 teams to talk about, we're talking about 25 teams that are interesting and good and have something going on, which I think is why we watch and why we're interested and why we're having shows like this, is because those teams like Detroit, the Detroit Tigers, like I said, I know it wasn't this panel because these guys are a lot smarter than the other guys that had the second show where they were picking Detroit to have a terrible season. They were picking Colorado to win it all. And obviously they don't know what they're talking about. But I think the fact that Toronto's having a good season, or at least to this point, Detroit's having a good season, at least to this point. The Mets are having a good season. I was the only one that put them in the wild card in the playoffs. So I was thinking they might do something. But to be honest, there's only 4 or 5 kind of not good teams, and you can kind of expect bad things out of them. And somebody mentioned earlier, Detroit taking 2 or 3 from Boston and Seattle. If you want to see some offense, good Lord, go watch some of their games because they have no pitching, but they score like 1 million runs, but they give up 1 million runs. So go watch some of their games. So I think all in all, I would still rate it an A. And thanks to everyone to come out. I think my big panel out there. Appreciate you guys taking your time tonight to talk with us about some baseball. During the month of May, if something happens, just jot down a note so that way when you come back on, you'll be able to talk about it or bring it up. Is anyone else, Vlad Jr., he's supposed to be the next big thing. He's now here. Is anyone else feeling the love for him like the Toronto fans, or do you think he's a one and done? What do you guys? What's your take on that? I just want to hear that, and then we'll just call it a live stream. So
I'll go first if I
He
can.
seems to have the. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
To me, I was talking to a buddy of mine because a friend of mine trying to get me into a Strat 2018 league, so I have to do prospect hunting. And a lot of people think the best prospect out there because of Vlad's non-ability to have a position, because he may be an Andujar type at third where he may get your 900 OPS and chuck about 25 away from third base. Then he gets put at DH and first base and gets lost around where there's other people around. The better position, you always want that up the middle type presence. And the guy, he's having 900 OPS first month of the season. And ID was mentioning this team earlier as he's watched games, is Fernando Tatis. And I think he might be more the better deal, the bigger deal than Vlad is. Vlad may win the AL Rookie of the Year. Yeah, sure. But I think the better of the two is going to be Tatis.
All right, David? David?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vlad Jr. has all the tools, and like Ron said, Mike said, the defense is always in question, but good thing the American League has something called a DH. So if you can hit, they'll get you in the lineup somehow. And another takeaway I have is Victor Robles was supposed to be this hot thing in Washington, but I'm not impressed. I mean, you say it's maybe early or whatever, but he's no Juan Soto, that's for sure.
Okay. Ron?
Yeah, the thing with Robles is that his defense is just very questionable. But I think everything changes once Martinez gets canned. Yeah, DH. He's gonna. I think he's a real deal, top prospect. He knows the game inside and out. Carter Kieboom is another name I'd watch too for Washington. He made his debut the same night as Vladdy Jr. did and didn't get the attention, but yeah, I would still buy on Vlad Jr. and I agree with Mike on Tatis too. I think again for like the third or fourth year in a row, there is a lot of good young talent in Major League Baseball.
All right, now comes for Jester's turn. I'm going to throw everything on his head. Here we go. Woo! Here we go. Have you never? I didn't know anything about this guy until he showed up. I mean, I heard about him on the radio, and his big debut's coming up. Have you never seen a guy out of shape as much as him as being the number one, best prospect? He's fat. He's slow. He's got no speed. He's the number one prospect in baseball. You guys got to be kidding me. You guys actually got to be kidding me. Convince me. He looks like he's out of shape. He can't do anything. I think he's going to be 2 seasons. He'll be out of the league. Nobody will be talking about him. All right. Or don't convince me, I guess.
Didn't it work for Prince Fielder for a long time?
I mean, you brought up Kaboom or however you say his name. Mm-hmm. I mean, that guy looks like a rock, man. He comes out, he's a rock. Have you seen Tyler O'Neill for the Cardinals? Okay. You want to look at a baseball player, go look at him. He has got like muscles coming out of his yin yang. That's how many muscles he's got. And you can't look too close at his yin yang or you'll see his muscles. He's got more muscles than he knows what to do with. And then you get this Vlad Guerrero who's flopping around, watching his big belly flopping everywhere. He's not going to go anywhere in baseball. I just don't see it happening. So that's why I had to bring it up.
A long time ago, the Yankees had this big fat guy named Babe Ruth that did pretty well too.
All right. I mean, yeah, maybe. But I mean, if I was baseball, I wouldn't promote him. He looks come on. That's the American League. That's what's wrong with the DH right there. Want players.
You'll enjoy it when you have it in 2021.
All right, we're done. Thanks everyone. Moni G, Tribe Fan, Vlogs, Clinton Parks, Phantomatic, everyone that came out tonight to support the channel.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Distinguished guests, I do appreciate it. Guys, you're always invited back. End of May, we're going to do this all over again. Half of the things we just said are all going to be wrong, and half the things we said are going to be changed. So who knows what's going to happen.
A reprieve.
We might need another reprieve is right. You never know. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure as always. Chat, thank you so much. We will see everyone very, very soon. Take care. Until then, have a good night, everyone.